Om Sri Sairam, offering my most humble and loving salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Yet again, we are here with the immense grace and blessings of our Master to enjoy His glory, to bask in His glorious wonders of life. And yet He has given us another moment to learn about Him a little bit more, to hear His glories. So please join me for the prayer and continue this evening offering His story through the eyes of His voice. Please join me. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Om Sai Ram. We have been fortunate to not only live with the Master, to hear Him, to see Him, and enjoy the divine unfoldings. There are many ways the Bhagwan has shown His grace on each one of us. The amazing part of God is that He is so focused about, when avatar takes birth or takes a form, He is very focused towards His purpose of life. With that one pointed focus to make us realize who we are, He conducts all His life. And there are million ways in which He attracts us, hooks us, and as Kasturi Garu would tell, then He cooks us. And that process continues till He is satisfied. Music has been one of the very beautiful instruments of Bhagwan in the field of education also. So today we have another brother who comes from the hills, so to say. His journey to Bhagwan was a grace of, a chance. By default, he got into it and he enjoyed the rhythm of life. His journey took him to Bhagwan, not directly to Puttaparthi, but from Sri Salaam, because his parents wanted him to study in Bhagwan's school, and that is the first opening he found. From there, he came to Puttaparthi, and actually Vrindavan campus he joined in 1990 as a BSc student. Then he went on to do his MBA from Prashantanilayam campus and graduated in 1995. I'm very happy and pleased to welcome and invite Brother Yeshab Giri. Sai Ram, Brother Yeshab.
Sai Ram.
It's a joy to have you on this offering called His Story Through the Eyes of His Voice.
I'll probably start with my loving salutations at the lotus feet of Swami, and I'm really fortunate enough to be here to share my experiences and thoughts of my journey to Swami and beyond.
Welcome. Brother Yeshab is also, he's presently based not in Darjeeling, but he hails from there. But he's presently in Ghaziabad near Delhi. and he's a director staffing at and Randstad Technology. Randstad is like a headhunter, I believe, Yeshab?
Well, it's an HR services company. It's a Dutch firm.
Great. So he is in the business of finding business for people, giving jobs to people. So welcome, Yeshab, and I'm so glad that you are able to join us today. And as we all know, if people who don't know, Yeshab is also a very blessed singer. So I thought it will be very good if we can, आगाज करें इस शाम का. Let us have the beginning of this evening with a nice bhajan from your melodious voice. Or you want to say something before that? I leave it to you.
Oh yes, no, I'm probably an accidental singer more so. But yes, Swami took me in his fold and gave me a lot of opportunities to sing in front of him. And since you started off with my organization and the jobs that I provided, there was a discussion with Swami when Swami came to Delhi, and we asked for Pad Namaskar as students. We had done seva, and as Swami was giving Pad Namaskar to all the people, he spotted me and he called me, and his question was, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm in service." So his question was, "What service do you provide?" And I couldn't think of anything. So I just looked at my role and I said, "Swami, I provide jobs." So very much to what you said. But yes, maybe to start.
I provide jobs. I think it's a lovely statement. I provide jobs.
So let's start with a bhajan on Ganesh, since we are starting this talk. And
please feel free.
Vakratunda Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Vigneshwara Gananath Gajanana Vigneshwara Gananath Gajanana Parvati Nandana Shubhanana Parvati Nandana Shubhanana Mangalamurti Shri Ganaraya Mangalamurti Shri Ganaraya Jaya Ganaraya Shri Ganaraya Jaya Ganaraya Shri Ganaraya Jaya Ganaraya Shri Ganaraya Jaya Ganaraya Shri Ganaraya Ashtavinayaka Shubhanana Siddhi Vinayaka Shubhanana Vigneshwara Gananath Gajanana.
Beautiful. Thank you, Yeshab, for giving us such a beautiful bhajan to start this offering. You really brought back that mood, After a good bhajan, you don't feel like talking for some time. But we have to continue this journey of offerings. So let us start this journey to know from you, how did all this happen, and how did your family come to Bhagwan, know about him?
So from the time I'm aware of my family back home, I've seen my parents worshipping Swami, and I'm aware that in our house there was a portrait of Swami, and both my parents used to worship. In my childhood, it didn't really mean much to me for the fact that I noticed them worshipping him. But for me, I really have absolutely no clue. And for many years, I never tried to find out how my parents,
Got
uh,
into it.
got to know of Bhagwan, and that was many years back. And the distance between Darjeeling and Puttaparthi is quite huge, thousands of kilometers.
Great. So growing up, then how did you decide to go to Sri Salaam?
Uh, I was very happy studying in Darjeeling, and that's the place where I grew up, had my friends, everything was smooth, and I had finished my schooling and I had joined a college there, a college that's quite a popular college there, the St. Joseph's College there, and again, all my friends from school were in the college, so we were one big gang, everything was going fine, but just then there was a political agitation that started off in Darjeeling. It became violent, and then a lot of schools were closed. There were strikes all around, and then there came a point wherein our education was getting impacted badly, and my father realized that if he allowed me to stay, I think it would destroy my career, or at least would impact my career, and he started looking at what should he do. I don't think it was really Swami at that point in time, but he was more concerned about what do I do with my son, and he cannot stay here. So what do I do? And then as Swami would want it, he was in the market and he met up with a friend of mine whom we studied together from nursery. He met up with his mother and he knew her, and like in discussion he said, I'm worried about my son's education, and she said, I have already sent my son out. And she said, where have you sent him? She said, there is a Sai school in Kerala, Calicut, called Sri Salaam, and then he's got admission there. And for my father, it was just the opportunity and the path he was looking for. He said, okay, Swami, and then this is Swami school, and this is a way out from Darjeeling, so this is the best thing. And he came home and he explained to me, and I was like, no way, I'm not going to go. You can do whatever you want, but I'm going to stay here. I will not go. And but somehow he said, okay, we'll go and have a look around. And we traveled all the way to a few thousand miles to Calicut. Such an alien place for me. I'm from the hills, cold place, a very different food, very different culture, people, and all that. And Calicut is very different, hot, humid. The lad, I just didn't understand the food, the rasam and thick rice and all. So by the time he stepped out of the gates, I told my father, no way, I'm going to come. You can do whatever you want with me, but I'll not. Never ever set foot in the school. We came back home, and I think my father gave me some time to think, reflect, and I knew.
So you went to Kerala and then came back to Darjeeling.
Yes, we came back, and
Okay.
I think I knew back of my mind that I had to do something about it. It's just that there was resistance of not going. Finally, I decided to move on, and then landed up at Sri Salaam.
So it was in 11th grade that you joined Sri Salaam.
11th grade, yes.
Okay. How was Sri Salaam experience?
Strangely, I thought I'm going to go to an alien country, an alien place. I'll be the only guy around. My parents, my father's no more. He, He passed away last October. But this is the interview that Swami gave us when I was doing my MBA. So my dad, I think whatever I am today, I have to give full credit to my parents.
Certainly, always.
Yeah. So I landed there thinking that okay, this is the place, Sri Salaam, and I thought I'm going to be all alone in this place where Malayali is spoken and very very foreign food. How am I going to survive? But on the very first day, I realized that there were this bunch of people there from my hometown, and you can see them, yeah, all of them around, and in my class, 11th standard, and in the 12th standard, and we were like I think 12 of us from the hills. And I was like, okay, now life's easy. Now I can pass these 2 years. Now I can stay here, because I have friends who speak my language, who know me, whom I can communicate with, who made my stay really comfortable.
So you found kind of a solace with seeing your faces around, right?
Yes, very, very familiar faces. But the place is a beautiful place. The school is built on a hillock that overlooks the Arabian Sea. And, it's a part of it is also cashew plantation. So it's all greenery. And in the middle of that is a school. So for the first time, I got a glimpse of the Sai organization, culture, processes, systems, discipline, and all of that, because I came from a completely different outfit. I was born up on English music. All my life, I sang nothing but English songs with my friends, and here it was, something called Bhajan, and so it took me some time to understand. Okay, what is the structure of a bhajan? How is it sung? But since music was in my blood and I could sing a song, I said, why not? And some of my friends from the hills and some of my seniors from the hills, they were a part of the bhajan group, and some of them were singers, some of them were harmonium players and tabla players. And I said, okay, you got a music group right here. Why don't I be a part of it?
So I think the music also it started right there itself. It became
Yes.
the conduit for everybody to come together.
True.
Because we always look at hill boys, we can't imagine a hill boy without a guitar in his hand. So it's like synonymous with all of you.
Hill
That
boys without a guitar and a football.
football and a football,
True.
yes. So it is kind of a second nature for people coming from that side. So that's how your life started in Sri Salaam. How much of exposure you got about Bhagwan there?
I did. I think first it was more of I think that's the way probably Bhagwan works. I think he works in the periphery and starts preparing you before I really get in touch with him. So I think he was chipping at my old ways of working. So getting used to waking up in the morning, getting used to Nagar Sankirtan, getting used to bhajans. It builds a lot of patience, right? Bhajan. And after bhajans, I think they would ask us to practice meditation. I think for the first time in my life, I actually sat down, after bhajans, the lights were turned off and, just the lamp. We were asked to focus on the lamp and then take the lamp inside us and move it on our body. Very difficult, mind wandering all over the place and all of that. But I had my first experience of, okay, this is completely different world from where I come from. Nothing of this nature ever happened in my world. Now this is the world, and I think it took me time, but I adapted soon enough because I think one, there was no option, because if you had to stay in that school and if you had to do well for yourself, you had to change and you had to adapt. And that's what I did. And slowly I came to know, okay, what Swami's ways of working is like. What does he expect from his students?
Did you have a chance to come to Perthi as a school group or something like that?
We did. I think one of the festivals, Onam, I guess it was, we had some holidays and we came over to Parthi. And I think around the time Swami wasn't well, he had fractured his hip. and he was advised to take rest because it creates a lot of pain and
Yes,
all
yes,
of
yes.
that.
It
And
was
Swami,
same 89, I think. It was 89 something.
Swami happened to give a discourse for about an hour, standing up. And that was my first time looking at Swami and listening to him. And at the end, and we were not aware what had happened with him. So at the end, he said that, I had a flick fracture. My doctor said I should rest. I should not move out of bed. But how could I do that? I'm standing here for an hour speaking to you. And the question in my mind was, how are you doing it? How is it possible? So he said, simple thing. I'm just diverting my mind from the pain to the devotees who've come to listen to me. And if you can control your mind, you can control the pain. And I was like, okay, that's a big lesson, mind so powerful. You can, if you control your mind and put it in the right place, you forget all the other things around it. Impressed. I said, wow. Because I'm not looking at him as God in that sense, because I come from a different place. My parents believed. I have not really had that interaction with him to really believe in that status of God. So I'm like, okay, I need to understand more. Okay, this is one first experience I have with him. Okay, and there is a lot of learning for me. Okay, what next?
This is you have opened a huge flood of memories for me. Uh, he had slipped in the bathroom, as they say, soap there, and his bone had fractured. So when they did X-ray, it was like that, hip bone. It was a hip bone, and those days there was no super specialty hospital. So Dr. Alreja was the doctor in charge of Bhagwan, who is to a personal physician of Bhagwan that time, and they had got an portable X-ray machine to check Swami, because he didn't allow anybody to touch him. He was lying on the bed, and then they prayed, and Swami said, "Okay." So in the morning, he had brought the X-ray machine, and he forced Swami that, "Swami, I want to at least see." So he could not administer any medicine, but he wanted to see. So he forced Swami to allow him to take the X-ray shot. When the X-ray came out, the sheet was blank. There was nothing. So he again sat down, it seems, and he prayed that he was crying, and he prayed that, "Swami, at least let me see." And Swami smiled and said, "Okay, wait." Then after some time he said, "Okay, now take it." So again he took the second one, and then he saw the X-ray, it was fractured. So obviously they told technically, "Swami, as per the medical sciences, I'm supposed to align it back, and you have to rest for a few weeks." And Swami, in his own inimitable style, he said, "Nur Musko," and then he started coming once in a day. He used to be wheeled out in that in his chair, red chair it was, and he would give balcony darshan from top. So it was an Onam day when he literally came down and went to the Puran Chandra auditorium and gave a speech, and that is where you saw him, when he gave a full 1 hour, 1.5 hour speech, and it was a
Yes.
shocker for all of us,
Yes.
because nobody would expect him to get up in a week's time and go and give a talk, and that too for an hour and a half.
True.
So you brought back the memories, and after a few days, I think after Onam only, he started walking again. He came out as if nothing had happened to him.
Sometimes I contrast this, my experience with Swami to maybe my parents' experience. I contrast it, like here I was in front of him, having seen him, and yet, a lot of doubts in my mind, a lot of questions in my mind. And very strangely, for my parents, they'd never seen him in that sense. My mother tells me the story that my grandmother's brother had traveled to Parthi, when we were kids, I guess, traveled to Parthi, or just around the time my mother was married, had traveled to Parthi, and then he had come back with these photos of Swami. So I apparently distributed to all the relatives, saying, "Hey, I've been to this place, and I've seen this guy. He's quite impressive, and he's like a very powerful person and all that." And Swami and my mother saw the photo, and I think something in that photo struck her, and she put it on the shrine, and then she just worshipped without really knowing anything. And apparently, she just felt okay. we're going to believe you, and whatever good or bad happens, I'm going to place it at your feet. And everything that happened, and most of the things were better things that happened, and she always kept at her feet saying, okay, it's all your blessings. And I think that's how they came to just believe in him, without meeting him or listening to
See,
him or hearing him.
they are very ripe people, As I always, when I hear the stories of our elders from all across the, alumni base, I feel they are really blessed, and we are blessed to be born in such families that the acceptance of divinity was natural. See, we had a little bit of rusted, so we had to go through this channel of
Yes,
processing. But
true.
I maybe probably they were having so a little bit, purity and clarity, so they don't have to really have a physical push required.
Yes.
So, did you had any physical, interaction with Swami, direct one-on-one in those days?
Yes, so, even this whole practice of writing a letter to Swami was sort of alien to me, foreign to me. I didn't know that you could write letters and give to Swami. I just didn't know. I was never initiated to that. So, we students, we had come to Parthi, and I think it was during the winters, Parthi, and then we were like devotees because we were not really students of the of the university. So we came as devotees, and we stood in the devotees section and all of that, the lottery system that happens. And fortunately, all of us that day were in the first and second lines for darshan. And so all of us ran. We found our place, really happy that we are there in the very first and second line. And we just sat waiting for Swami, and then suddenly I see left and right, and I see some of our seniors and friends of mine pulling out papers and pens and writing. And I was like, what are you doing? And they're like, writing a letter to
Writing
Swami.
letter to Swami.
You don't get to sit in front of these first rows every day. This is luck, man. You've got it here. You better write something. I was like, okay, what do I write? I have nothing to write. I'm like, मैं लिखूं तो क्या लिखूं? I kept thinking, okay, what? Okay, I also should write. Everyone is writing. I also have to give a letter. What should I write? Then I recollected that those days you either had a telegram coming your way or you had a phone call coming your way, right? In the hostel phones. So I think it was a letter or a telegram that had come to me, and my father was informing me that my brother wasn't well, and he was taking him to Calcutta for treatment. But he never explained to me the severity of the illness he just said. So, and I thought, medical facilities sometimes in the hills is limited, so you got to take them to the plains. I did not give it much serious thought. So I remembered, my father said that my brother is not well. That's the only thing in my mind. So, okay, let me only write this bit. That Swami, my brother is not well. Just take care of him. And I also folded and waited for Swami to come. And, darshan happened, musics were on, Swami came. And Swami has a peculiar way of picking letters. Generally it's just two fingers and he just plucks the letters out of everyone, right? Effortlessly without touching. Now, I don't know whether I'm imagining or it's happened to me, but when it came to me and my letter, I felt Swami, not the fingers, but almost his hands come down on me and literally almost crushed my thumb, and along with that, the letter, and he's taken it. And I was like, do you really need to do this? You could have just plugged it. And I joked it with my friend saying, he almost, sprained my finger. It was so powerful, he took it from my grasp. And I completely forgot about it. The next session, we had holidays, I came home. And then my parents told me that the story of my brother, that, he was in a very critical state in my home, and they literally had to take him to Calcutta. It was almost like a last attempt for treatment towards Calcutta, and my mother really being very distraught when they were leaving home, wanting to really see him come back again. And in Calcutta, I think around that time they were in Calcutta doing this treatment, I was giving my letter. So, you could look at it that it is coincidence, two events happening at the same time. There is treatment happening, you are giving a letter, but you could also connect the dots. For me, someone who was getting initiating to Swami, I connected the dots and I said, this timing just can't be luck. There is something in what happened. And my father wasn't very clear about the treatment in Calcutta. He says we were not able to really identify the problem of the illness, but somehow, he started recovering well, and he was literally, I think, not able to walk, not able to see when he left home, and he walked home after treatment. And around the time, Swami took that letter from me, and so that was quite powerful for me, saying, okay, that's a
How
calling
he,
card.
as you said rightly, he was chiseling you, but look at how he has instilled that thought in you already.
Yes.
Excellent. So how did the journey move to that you wanted to join Puttaparthi then?
I guess a lot of things have been luck, not really planned, but I'm sure that's also Swami's way of working. Initially, all of us decided that we'll attempt MBBS or engineering courses. So I think we filled in all the forms that we had to fill in. But somehow, me as well, many of my friends, we decided on, applying to Puttaparthi, and we wrote our exams, and we wrote our exams, and my exams were under very odd circumstances because, around the time when we were going to Puttaparthi to write our exams, there was a cyclone that hit Orissa, and our trains were terminated in Visakhapatnam, and we couldn't move ahead for days. And when we reached Puttaparthi, the exams were over. So we were told that, it's sorry, the exams are over. You'll have to try next year. But somehow we went to the administrative block. We made a lot of requests and all of that. And they said, okay, we'll give you a room in the administrative block. We'll give you the questions you have to write here, right now. And we had not slept the whole night. And the last few days, we had not studied anything. It was a very horrible thing. That cyclone was very, very devastating. And we really struggled to come to Puttaparthi. And I don't know what I wrote, because I had not slept the whole night in the bus that brought us to Puttaparthi, because the driver was feeling sleepy, and we had to sit with him to keep tapping him, saying, don't sleep, you'll take us in some place, and we'll have an accident. So we didn't sleep, and I don't know what I wrote, but when the results came, I was through. I can't explain that. So, and I was allocated Vrindavan campus.
Yeah, by then everybody all the graduations were going to Vrindavan in that time. So you must have probably been there.
Was split. Actually, it was split.
Split,
couple of my brothers from the hills were in Parthi. So it was almost split down the middle. 4 or 5 of us were in Vrindavan. 4 or 5 of us were in Parthi.
Wonderful. So you all came to Whitefield. I think I have some pictures to show you. So this was your group.
Yes, some of us. Yes, I think.
Hey, who is this?
That's Ajnish.
I'm sure people who know Ajnish would smile at this. That's how he looked when he came from Calicut.
I can see Amber and Saroj and myself. We came in from Sri Salaam, right?
Yes.
And Kundan and Ajnish, they studied in school, so they moved from school to.
Okay, so Ajnish did not come from Kerala. He came from the school side.
He was from the school. Kundan was also from the school. And Mukund joined us in graduation. So Ajnish and Mukund were
Ajnish, you're right. Ajnish studied in higher secondary school. Yes. Okay, cool. So that's how you looked when you came here, all of you. Handsome boys.
True.
So this is Vrindavan campus.
This is Vrindavan campus, yes.
So how was Vrindavan campus for you?
Vrindavan campus, I would say, of the 7 years which I really feel were the best years for me, somehow Vrindavan probably was the best years for me. I think we got the best of Swami, we got the best of music, we got the best of sports, we got the best of studies. I think it had a great culture, great regimen there, great food, I would say. I missed the Vrindavan food when I went to Parthi. Amazing food. And it was, though I studied in Sri Salaam, but physically Swami was there in Vrindavan. In Sri Salaam, we knew Swami. There is a sai attached to that school, but this is the place where Swami used to come, stay, come to the hostel, come to the college. So it was a place where he had really graced physically. So it was an amazing place for me. I think the feel of that place, the vibrations, and I happened to land just when maybe Swami wanted to initiate me. I don't know. I landed the year when summer course on Indian spirituality commenced, restarted.
That was 1990.
Yes, 1990.
Okay, so that was your starting year. Okay. So, as you said, you enjoyed the welcoming portion of the Vrindavan campus. So, if you can give us a glimpse into, starting off with summer course, any memories from that era?
Yes, summer course. I think for a youngster, coming from the hills, being completely new to the spiritual aspect of things, it was a heavy dose for me. We literally had to sit through an entire day in the auditorium, listening to various speakers speak on spiritual topics and subjects. And Swami would probably come at the end, and every day we had a discourse from Swami. And then we were given notebooks and pens, and we had to furiously take note of everything that was being said, half understanding what was being said, because we were told that there's going to be an examination at the end of the summer course, and you better pass. You can't fail. So I still have those notebooks where I would have written mind, upper mind, higher mind, and all of that. There was one session. So while I couldn't understand everything that was being spoken there. It is not possible for me to understand, but at least it set some guideline, some direction for me to understand Swami even better. That okay, these are the things that that he really places value on. These are the things that he wants us to understand, to delve more deeper into it. Things that meant nothing to me when I was back home. Meant nothing to me practically. I had not given any thought. But here I was sitting and writing down and reading it in the night and preparing for an exam on spirituality. I said, okay, I have made a transition.
That's so sweet. What was your first conversation with Bhagwan? I'm sure Vrindavan must be a place where you started talking to him.
Well, I spoke to him, I think, the second day I landed there, because we landed, and then after 1 or 2 days, the summer course was starting, and we were told that Swami had called everyone into the Trai compound, all the students, and we were asked to sit in lines in the lawns of Trai. I happened to sit right at the end where the birds are kept, and Professor Nanjundaya was with Swami. He was carrying a bag where there were notebooks and pen, and Swami came with that. And when he came to me, he looked at me, and because since I was the last guy on the line, he said, "Where have you come from, boy?" And I said, "Okay." Trembling, I said, "Swami, I'm from Darjeeling." He said, "Okay." So that was my first ever, speaking to Swami, first ever.
Where are you from?
Yes.
So it's a very beautiful, this is very common, which Swami uses for everybody, pushing it into the inquiry of where have you come from. So that was your starting point too.
Yes, for an innocent mind, the only thing I could think of was Darjeeling.
That's lovely. So how did your bhajan journey travel to Vrindavan?
So now I was aware of bhajans. I knew how bhajans are being sung. I knew bhajans, right? So I came, and then So there is a ritual, there is a process. So, I think singing in front of Swami, it's just not, you can just sing. And, we were there in the earlier show where I think Keshav explained his journey also of, getting to sing in front of Swami. So the general process is that because in Vrindavan, Swami is there, not there, because he's not there throughout the year like Parthi. So in Vrindavan, when Swami is not there, the bhajans are in the dining hall of the hostel, right? And so you first get to sing there. You have to take permission from the music teacher, who would then probably, you have to go to the music room, sit in front of him, sing one or two bhajans. If he feels you are in Shruti, in Tal, you have the bhav, he said, okay, you start singing in the dining hall.
Hostel.
And then, yes, hostel dining hall. Then, because that's where the bhajans are done in the evening. And once you sing and you gain a lot of confidence, and that's when you go back to the music in charge and say, now, do you think I should, or go and pray to Swami that, can I sing in Swami's presence? So for me, I think after a few months, Swami was visiting Vrindavan. So I went to the music in charge teacher, said, sir, do you think I'm ready? Should I go and ask? He said, why not? Please ask for me. But be prepared for an answer. He might say yes, he might say no. You got to be prepared. And I was like, okay, no harm in trying. So in front of Trai, all of us were lined up. Swami came. He happened to pass by me. I just got up and I said, Swami, can I sing bhajan in front of you? Swami looked at me and said, why not? Sing. I was like, hey, it's so easy. I asked once and he gave me, it's like overjoyed. I went back and said, he's just asked me. I just asked and he said, sing. I said, okay, you better prepare well. And we had stalwarts at that time. I was in my first year. In my third year, you had Ravi Kumar, Arunesh, Harish, all these, Sham, Subramaniam, all of them, all the stalwarts in Vrindavan. So somehow I gathered my courage and I said, I'll sing my Ganesh Bhajan. First song, be away with it. No, I can't keep waiting for third, fourth, fifth, sixth bhajans. So my turn came and I sang that bhajan, and I was so nervous singing in front of Swami with all the distinguished singers and musicians around me, and I'm like novice in the first year. I was never trained classically. It just sound. I think I just listen by what I hear. I sang horribly. I sang out of scale. It must have sounded really horrible. But I think Swami, to his utmost compassion, after the bhajans were over, he calls up Narsimurti and says, hey, this guy, very good. He sang really well. I was like, really? Are you really telling me that I sang so bad?
He
so
saved
well?
you. He saved you.
Yeah, definitely. I think if Swami had said, oh, I think I would have been kicked out of the bhajan group then and there. Yeah.
Wonderful.
There started my
Good
journey. But I think on hindsight, I think retrospect, it's always an easy thing to do. I should have worked hard. Having got that opportunity from Swami, I admit I should have worked hard. I know Ajnish, both of us used to go to the music room together to practice. He used to goad me, early morning at 5:30 to go and practice. I would have gone for a few days and then I would have just given up, saying, it's okay. And Ajnish continued well even after college. So I think that was a lesson for me. I think Swami was telling me that I've given you an opportunity, but you should take it seriously and practice, which I did not. That's a regret that I have. I could have probably sung even better for him, in that 5 years I was there.
That is how life is. Doesn't matter. Let me show you another picture of yours. Tell us about this.
This is the auditorium in Vrindavan, and this is definitely during the summer course. In the first summer course, I was just a participant, but then I was a part of the music group. And by the time the second summer course came, I was a part of the group. I was playing a guitar and I was also singing. And the custom generally is, although you first of all you ask Swami for a permission to even set up a program, right? Your Swami needs to explicitly say, okay, you can set up a program. And then Swami takes a keen interest on who's singing, which are the songs, sing it in front of me. In a way, almost Swami is saying, sing in front of me. Let me see whether these songs are good enough for the audience when you finally present. I don't want my boys, to face an embarrassment or audience not to really appreciate. I think that's where Swami is saying, you got whatever you do it to perfection. So the next photo is of, once we take permission from Swami, and once Swami has vetted all our songs, even on the final day, that's a card that we make. It's like a menu, you get all the songs written down, who are the singers. Swami goes through that, and that's also a final admission, approval from Swami saying, can we still go and perform? And Swami is like, okay, now you guys go. You have my blessings,
Yeshab, you brought a very important point, and I think all the viewers, devotees must understand the format of doing things in front of Bhagwan. So first we take permission to prepare a program to be offered. Then we take permission of, not permission itself, but he gets involved in who is going to perform what, who is going to play, who is going to be doing what in the program. Yes. And he comes even for rehearsals to check and keep vetting everything, right? And then on the final day when the program is about to happen, you come up with this kind of a card which is detailed about the program, who is the singer, what is the song, and all that. And there also Bhagwan can pull the plug.
Oh, yes.
And that is what I want to tell the people, that we have to go there, and that also we are not sure whether this will continue that way or not. So it is a beautiful.
Sorry. I have been a part of programs where we would have planned a 7 or an 8 song program, and Swami has stopped us in the second song.
Actually, in this picture, I wanted to identify a few people. This is Professor Sampath, who became the Vice Chancellor, and that is Professor Anil Kumar and Professor Nanjundaya. So it's nice to have such eminent people also. And here in this picture, that is our young Mr. Chakravarti Garu, who was then the registrar. And here is Mr. Sridharan, right?
Yes.
He's in US right now. He became the lecturer, and then he went on. And I'm forgetting his name. He was also my senior. He also, right now he's in Hyderabad. He's a principal there. And this is Muttu. People who know how to play tabla, and they know him in the market. He's a tabla genius today.
Just a kid.
Yeah, just a kid. How it is nice. So it is good. So, okay, here we come for your summer course, and this was your performance.
Yes, we had a very illustrious group of musicians and singers, an amazing group. I would just be in awe, even playing for them. I'm playing guitar here. I would just be in awe. You can see Sonam on stage.
Yeah, Ravi Kumar singing here, and Sonam is playing harmonium. Arun Dareshwar on the flute.
Yes.
Sham is on tabla. Sailesh sir is on keyboard. Wonderful.
Bharat Dutt is also there.
Harish Mirpuri on accordion.
Yes.
I'm sure this will be a good nostalgic journey for all of us.
True.
So that is you performing. Do you remember which song did you sing?
There was, I got an opportunity to participate in one of the summer course, and I had picked up a Sufi song to sing, and generally because of anxiety and over practice, my throat was completely out of control, and I could not hold on to the Shruti, as time was coming near for the presentation. And the day came, and then we came down like what you saw in the photographs, all of us in one row to Swami to take his blessings. And in fact, that day, Atal Bihari Vajpayee had come, and he was the chief guest. And I had Sonam brother in front of me, and I was there, and we had roses. And I think Swami takes pride, his boys. So he looked at both of us, and he told Atal Bihari Vajpayee, these boys, They've come all the way from Sikkim and Darjeeling to be a part of my institution. They're so proud of us, I gave the flower and went back, and I was so worried because the practice before I couldn't hold on to notes and I was singing out of scale and all of that. So I went into the stage first time. It's pitch dark. I can see Swami up front, and my turn to sing. I just closed my eyes and I said, Swami, just help me get through this song. My voice is completely gone. I know I cannot sing, but I have to. We've prepared this song for you. Help me. I'm surrendering it to you, but allow me to go through this song. And somehow that 5 minutes passed, and I come backstage and everyone is saying, hey, you sang well, man. It was very good. Really? Really? So that's an experience with Swami.
Yeshab, if you don't mind, but I believe you have had the blessing of composing 1 or 2 songs. So why don't we have one bhajan of yours?
Yes, I have musical instruments in the house, and one of the winters, I sat with the harmonium. Now, I'm not a harmonium player, by the way. I just know a little bit of theory of music. So I just sat with the harmonium player and I said, okay, can I, there's this desire to make something for Swami, maybe a bhajan for Swami. And it's not for others' consumption, it's for my own consumption. Okay, I will make a bhajan, I will write a bhajan, I will sing it, and I'll feel good about it that I made a song for Swami, a bhajan for Swami. So I made this bhajan, and I happened to be conversing with Brother Rajneesh, and I told him I have made some tunes. I have some tunes in my mind. I passed on these tunes to him, and he used it in some of the albums that he was releasing, because he himself is a prolific composer. He's like scores and scores of bhajans and songs he's got. And I know that it was released, and I forgot about it. And years and years later, someone sends me Parthi bhajans, daily Parthi bhajans on WhatsApp, which I'm not reading at all, because every day you get bhajans of the mandir. I don't know, one day I'm in office, I seem to have free time. The message comes, Parthi bhajans. Out of the blue, I'm like, okay, just let me listen. I have some time. And I'm listening to this bhajan. I'm like, really? My joy knew no bounds. I never thought this would happen. My bhajan travels all the way to Puttaparthi, and it is sung there. It's like such a joyful moment. I came back and
Let's hear 2 words of that.
I will, yes,
2 lines of it. Yes.
I will attempt this. Raghava Raghunandana Raghava Raghunandana Madhava Madhusudana Madhava Madhusudana Raghava Raghunandana Rajiva Dalalochana Shama Bansi Mohana Rajiva Dalalochana Shama Bansi Mohana दोनों ही नाम है आनंद धाम दोनों ही नाम है आनंद धाम राघव रघुनंदना
Sweet. Very beautiful. Let me trigger your memories on Trey session because Vrindavan is synonym with Trey sessions in your time. So, do you have any recollections, any good memories or experiences of that era?
Yes, yes. So our Trai sessions would actually happen after the bhajans, which would happen at the Kalyan Mandap during our time, because the new bhajan hall came later. Then you had the shed where the devotees would have their bhajans, and the Kalyan Mandap is where we would have our bhajans, and then Swami would come over to Trai. We would come over to Trai, and then it would be a very private session. The whole process of Kalyan Mandap to Trai itself is a very exciting thing, and a lot of my brothers who have studied in Vrindavan will know that from Kalyan Mandap to Trai, there would be a mad rush to be seated in and around Swami, because around that time Swami just had a small sofa right in the center of the room, and it would be a mad rush to be around that sofa. And we would really push each other out of the way and sprint at maybe at whatever pace we can, to be there. And then Swami would come and sit in that sofa, and then it would be just, I think, very, very casual talk. It was a very chilled out atmosphere, I would say. Some VIP would speak, sometimes Swami would speak. Most of the time, Swami would speak to students just off the cuff. He would crack a joke. He would pull someone up. He would ask someone to, after bhajans also, he would ask this bhajan group to sing some more songs, some more bhajans. There was no format or structure to it, and Swami would use it to his benefit. Sometimes he wants to pass on a message to the boys. He would use that session to pass on a message. And there was a time maybe we were a little too indisciplined, and he used that. One day it had rained, and when we were running across the lawns, we broke some flower pots, and a lot of mud came into the tray because people were just running into tray. And Swami came and said, "Warden, boys don't have any discipline, and look, they've dirtied my house and all of that." And the evening, the warden called us up, and we were really, really castigated for being so indisciplined. And next 1 week, we were like in one file, not a break. Swami soon grew tired and said, "Run, yeah, come on, I'm not liking this. Please show me the energy that you always show me." You know, and when Swami wasn't there, the place was completely deserted. So then, we had nothing else but to go the other way, and we immersed ourselves in sports and studies. But when he came, it's like 2x or 3x of grace, because he used to give so much in those private sessions.
Let me show you some pictures of your Vrindavan times. Maybe that may trigger some thoughts for you.
Oh
Here are
yes,
these.
this is the Christmas. In the lawns of our hostel, we used to celebrate Christmas, and you can actually even see the Santa Claus moving around. And this was the event for us, because we would get to sit on chairs and tables and have food. Otherwise we were sitting on the floor and having food in a dining hall. And my colleagues
My
from
eyes are looking at the plates, and the food really looks
oh,
delicious.
it would be special food that day, really special food. Uh, there we are. And this is inside our rooms.
Rooms.
And I think this was the place for us to share our happiness and sorrow and grief with our friends. What you see here is the altar and the altar competition. So what you see is an altar, and there would be an altar competition as to which are the top 3 best altars in the hostel, and we would leave no stone unturned to get those prizes. So we really got all the raw materials. Someone would design it, and all of us, you are involved in cutting and pasting and all of that, just to get that prize that we have the best altar. That's
Very
me in the
romantic.
college. I think it's one of those maybe pensive periods. This is a very funny incident that happened. This is just the door of our dining hall. Swami had come to hostel, and Swami was he had finished his work in the dining area. He had had his food, and then he was moving out. And that day happened to be my day to give him arati. And I was standing. There were boys behind him, and there were boys ahead of him on the steps around me. 20, 25, 30 boys. Generally, arti is I light the camphor and I start because it's my arti, and then immediately in 2 seconds everyone joins the chorus. What happened here was I lit the camphor and I started Om Jai Jagadish. I'm going all the way and I don't see anyone following with me. And after like 5, 6 seconds, I get nervous because no one is following, and I stop the arati. And the arati is in front of me, but I stopped. Swami looks at me and he smiles at me and he says, Om Jai, Darjeeling Jai, and he just walks off. And I'm speechless. Do I continue the arati? Do I stop the arati? This photo is that particular episode.
I was thinking, reminding you of those beautiful moments. See, divine humor is also very unique, but it is so beautiful. It leaves a very permanent impressions in our lives. That is beautiful.
Oh yes, you could have taken really. You could have been very upset, saying, "How can you stop an arati?" Or this is such a important aspect of ceremony, right? You've got to sing it well, and you're being, you're taking it very easy. You're not taking it seriously. So many things you could have done, but that simple gesture of his just kept me at so much of ease. Saying, "Okay, it's okay." Swami's not taking it seriously. He's understood that I was nervous, I was anxious.
Very nice. So I think Vrindavan life is very different than Prashanti Nilayam, and you had the fortune of staying in both the places. So, uh, so let me take you to Parthi now. After you finished your graduation, you got into MBA, and you came to Prashanti. How was that? How could you remember that coming to Parthi from Vrindavan?
So Parthi is like the big brother. Vrindavan is the small brother, right? So everything about Parthi is big. Big crowds. The area is big. A lot of things happening. A lot of events happening. And for me, Parthi was very official. Swami was there all the time, and Swami is engaged and caught up with a lot of other things also. Unlike when he comes to Vrindavan, he's got a lot of time for us. In that Trai, it's only us and no one else. In Parthi, it's not that. He's pulled in all directions. And particularly around those time, super speciality coming up and a lot of things. He was, I think, pulled in all directions. So I think many times you are left to yourself. Like, okay, he's busy. Don't disturb. Don't try to get his attention. You do what you're supposed to do. You come to darshan, you be there, you sing your bhajans, you go back, and you get into this routine.
So-called rhythm of life.
So-called this rhythm of life. So it's quite different from Vrindavan, I would say. It's a little relaxed also. Vrindavan was a little disciplined also. Not that we didn't like that, but Parthi is a little relaxed, I guess.
Of course, because you're distant from Bhagwan, so he expects the routine to be tighter there. And in Parthi, they always felt it. From day one, it was felt. Vrindavan was always tougher and Parthi was more relaxed. So I think that was how it was. So how was MBA for you? What was an experience of an MBA there?
Again, when I finished my graduation, I started looking at what I should be doing because I had BSc chemistry. I was majoring in chemistry. So the option for me was to do an MSc in chemistry or things like that. So I wasn't very sure. I was making up my mind what I should do. And then MBA came as an option to me. And I was still debating in my mind as to what should I do because I need to prepare. There is a entrance exam that you need to sit, there's group discussions and all of that, the formal process of applying for MBA, even if you are an existing student. We happened to be in Kodai, and Swami was inquiring from all of us as to what were our future plans. So he happened to ask me, saying, "Kaun sa class mein?" I am like, "Swami, in last year. I'm graduating this year. Kya karta hai? What do you want to do?" So I'm like, "Okay, this is the opportunity." I said, "Swami, I want to do MBA." Acha, okay. It's just like, very casually. Ah, acha, okay. So, okay, that's the signal. I should do MBA. Whether he meant it or not, for me, it was like, okay, you can go ahead and do it. So I applied for it, and I wrote the entrance. I had the JDs, had the one-on-one interview with the vice chancellor and the dean and all of that, and finally got through. But MBA was a very different experience for me. I think graduation, I had grip over the subjects because I was quite familiar with the subjects in graduation, but accountancy and related subjects, financial management, very difficult for me. I didn't come from that background at all, and I struggled. In fact, Professor Nanjundaya was our lecturer. He taught us accountancy. I was already scared of him, and then was teaching me accountancy. I really didn't really study much. I struggled through the first semester. And
it's interesting. She studied under Professor Anil Kumar botany, and now you're
yes,
studying accounting under Professor Nanjundaya.
true.
It's quite a journey, I would say.
And in Parthi, I was also pulled into the music group even more. Go to a lot of programs. You got to participate in a lot of festivals there. You got to set up a program. Christmas, a lot of practice for Christmas. The sports meet. So yeah, MBA was a struggle.
Excellent. Let me take you to another aspect of yours, trips with Bhagwan. Many times Swami would choose once in a year some boys to take them out with him to Uti and Kodaikanal. And being an MBA student, that privilege was kind of bestowed on everybody there. So you had a privilege of going with Bhagwan to Kodai, right? So
I had not it was between my doing MBA and my graduation. So it's actually in my third year of graduation in Vrindavan.
Oh, really? That's great.
Yes, that's when Swami gave us this wonderful opportunity to accompany him to Kodai.
So let me show you pictures, and maybe you can think of some good stories of that, because that is something which I think we love to hear. What is he doing to you here?
Yes, he was narrating a story from the Mahabharata, and he said in the Mahabharata there were few lakh soldiers on the battlefield fighting in that war. There was sound of horses and elephants and chariots and metal and all of that. So you couldn't really talk to one another because there's so much of sound. So how do you communicate one? So he was giving an example of Krishna being the charioteer and Arjuna being the fighter. How would they communicate during the battle? To stop, to go right, to go left, and all of that. So he said the chariots were made in a way that where the charioteer sat, from his temple, the floor of the archer's floor would start, and Arjuna would have shoes that would have pointed inwards, and he would actually press Krishna's temples to actually ask him to go left, right, stop, instructions. And he wanted to actually show it from with his leg. So he saw me in front and he said, "Come, you bend down, I'll show you with my leg." But he realized that it was very low and people couldn't see what he was trying to communicate. He said, "Okay, I'll show you with my hand." And that's what he's showing you with the hand, that this is how is to press. Just to say that Krishna, for all that divinity that he was, he says, "This is my devotee asking me for help." So even he has to press me in my temples, I'm okay. That's what I will do for my devotee.
Wow. Isn't it an eye-opener that Lord allowed devotee to put his feet on his head, temple, and push to tell which direction to go? It is really humbling. So that is a story Swami is telling you here.
Yes,
So
that's
beautiful.
the story.
So beautiful. I think you are enjoying more his touch than the story.
Oh yes, for me it was like okay, Swami's hands on my temple, a lot of energy flowing through me,
So nice. What's happening here?
That's Swami's. He's got a bunch of chocolates, and he's giving one of them to all of us. And this shot happens to capture me getting it from Swami. Uh, like we're like, please keep giving as many as you can give us.
Kodai was a time when he would really shower so much.
Oh
He'll
yes,
give gifts
yes,
every day, something or other.
true. Yeah, that's those were the days of analog cameras, and we all had our cameras, and Swami is distributing rolls. For the photographs that we would take with him, and other places that we would visit. So he would give us, and he would inquire, like, okay, if you guys have exhausted, here is some more for you. He's mindful of even to that detail. He doesn't have to give us camera rolls. Someone else can give it.
For me, he gave me the roll and then I bought the camera. Because he used to distribute camera rolls and whatever he gives you catch. So he gave camera. Okay. He seems to be talking to you. Do you recall
Yes.
anything?
Swami must be saying, "Look into the camera." I unfortunately I can't really recollect, what he said, but those were some precious moments where just me and Swami, and
It's
Swami
so
is trying to
informal, It's
make
so
a point.
informal and so personal.
Yes.
And I think these kind of shots are very common. Swami used to take with car all the students one by one, then in
Yes.
the lawns, then with the flower.
So
So he
with the
had
hat.
he had that with the hat. Yeah, here it is.
Oh yes. That's Swami saying, wear your hat well. Are you ready?
And here is your prepared, ready for it.
Yes. Yes.
This hat, I remember Bhagwan used to give money to boys every year. I don't know, from day one. And he would tell them personally in those days to go and buy hats and don't negotiate with those vendors. And those vendors knew that if Sai Baba is in town, they will have sale. And Swami used to buy all the hats from them. And so they used to wait for Bhagwan to come, and that would be a huge blessing for them. So he used to particularly give, and that tradition, I believe, has continued even through your era.
True.
That's beautiful.
True.
So what is happening here?
So I think there were opportunities for us to go with Swami to specific locations and take those photographs. Now here, this is mostly Uti. I think during the same period where we are distributing blankets, and for me it is a great opportunity, to carry those blankets and to be standing beside Swami, when he is giving the blankets away. He's like, okay, because those are the moments when Swami is going to look at you, notice you, talk to you, ask you something. So you don't miss those opportunities, right? So that's one of those moments being reflected here.
Beautiful. And this is where you're going for boating, right? Swami used to send people for boating.
Yeah, that's, I think, the three of us, and we used to probably call ourselves the Trinity. That's Ajnish.
Who are these three?
That is Ajnish, Pai, and
Oh,
myself.
Santosh Pai,
Pai,
Ajnish,
yes.
and you. Okay,
Yes.
okay. And this one?
Oh, that's we were when we started off from Bangalore, we were going to Kodaikanal, and generally Swami is in his car and we are in the bus. And somewhere in the midpoint, Swami stopped his car and then he jumped into our bus and he said, "Okay, boys, I'm going to travel with you." So he sat with editor Narsimhan, and I think we're clambering all over from behind to be as close to Swami and to be in that frame when someone is taking the photograph. And I'm like almost falling over Santosh Pai there, trying to be in the frame and trying to be near to Swami. So Swami would come into the bus and
He
look
was
around.
also a great devotee of Bhagwan, Mr. Narsimham. He was After Kasturi Garu, he became the editor of Sanatan Sarati. And, he used to also be he used to crack a lot of jokes with Bhagwan. He had the funny,
Yes.
humor around him. So it was nice to see him with Swami. Wonderful. I believe all three of you are involved a lot with some mischiefs also. Do you have any such memories to share with us?
Yeah, the three of us, I was in my second year when Avnish and Pai joined in the first year. So for 2 years we were all together, and we formed the core of the music group along with Nagraj, who was an amazing, a player of
Keyboard
harmonium
player.
and keyboard, and
Oh,
and a great composer himself, and a singer as well.
he's a genius composer, no
Yeah,
doubt
so the
about it.
three of us were together, and we bore the bulk load of bhajans during that period. Um, and we went through the highs and lows of what happens when you are in Swami's presence, because many times a lot of things go to your head, and it can be ego, or it can be any other negative emotion that is in your head. And I think Swami understands it very well, and he brings it down to earth, with things that only he can think of. So for me, I returned home from home during my graduation, during the summer course period, and I returned maybe just about a day or two before the summer course was to start. And I had also left immediately after the college had closed, knowing fully well that there was a festival coming up in the first week of April, but I had already booked my ticket and I had already started off. So I came, and Kalyan Mandap, the Bhajans was there, and me and Pai probably landed at the same time. But brother Rajneesh had come a few days in advance, and he was already participating and singing the bhajan. So both of us sang, sat down for bhajans, ready to sing, just come fresh from our home. And the warden walks up and he says that both of you cannot sing. Swami has told that both of you, Pai and Yeshab, you cannot sing. We were shocked and also humiliated, because in front of everyone we are told that Swami has told you guys cannot sing. And we were further told by the warden that in the evening you please come and meet me in my office. So sheepishly we went to his office in the evening, and he was like very, very upset, and Swami is very angry with you. You guys are not his students, and you are not followed any of his teachings. So I said, finally, sir, please tell us, what have we done wrong? He says, you guys have not even cut your hair. I actually had a haircut before I came. I looked at Pai, and Pai has a hair that sits on his head. So it's like sits. Mine stands on my head. So Warden looked at Pai and looked at me, and he looked at Pai and said, yours looks okay, but yours you have to cut. There wasn't much hair, but it stands. He said, go boy, go have a haircut and come back. And I rushed out saying, no, better cut your hair so you get the chance to sing bhajans. And then that day happened to be a day when barber shops were closed. Came back and told him, sir, the barber shops are closed. I will go first thing in the morning tomorrow before darshan, have a haircut and come. But he was very upset. He said, no, you cannot be in the hostel with this sort of hair. You will only enter tomorrow with a haircut. So for one day, I stayed outside. And early morning at 6:30, I somehow got hold of a barber, told him, see, whatever is there, you just knock it off, from my head. Just everyone should see that I've had a haircut. Came, stood in front of warden. Then we thought we will get an opportunity. We presented ourselves, but the answer was no. Swami is not agreeing to sing. And this thing went on for 2 weeks. Swami didn't allow me and Pai to sing for 2 weeks. He wouldn't come near us. He wouldn't look at us. And the feeling was so terrible. One was, we wanted to genuinely sing bhajan for Swami, and we were not allowed to sing. The other is, we knew that he was unhappy with us. That's further adding insult. The third thing is, people around us are looking at us as if we are criminals. These two fellows have been banned from singing. The word was banned from singing. They must have done something really, really bad, these people are so everyone look at the shock. People stopped sitting in front of me, us or around us, because they knew Swami wouldn't come where me and Pai would sit. So we said, no, this is not going to work. We have to find a solution. So we ambushed Swami inside Trai one of those days, caught him, cried our hearts out. He scolded us really, really. But then finally he relented and said, okay, you can sing. And then next day we sit for bhajans. Again, warden comes and says, Swami is saying the Darjeeling boy should not sing. I'm like, come on, this is too much, Swami himself gave me the permission yesterday after all the crying and all that we did. He's allowed. Now again you're saying I cannot sing. He says, no, not you, the other Darjeeling boy, Ajnish. So then it was Ajnish is trying to be banned for another week or 10.
That this part Ajnish had mentioned in last session, that you both, he didn't name you, but he said you both got first, and he had a little ego in his head that, okay, I'm safe. And then so this is the story from backside, okay.
Oh, yes,
but somebody had asked Bhagwan long back about it, and they said Swami is seemingly very insignificant, and you take it so seriously. Swami said, the catch is that if I catch them for the bigger mistake, the world will never forgive them. It will create bad name for them, and they will not be possible to come back. But when I catch them on a smaller mistakes and I overlook the big one, people will blame Sai Baba. That look, Sai Baba has been so inconsiderate.
Yes.
But only the student and Swami knows what is happening, and that is enough for me. So imagine the God taking blame on himself, but willing to correct the other person. And that is the subtlety of the relationship. So he doesn't mind punishing you for a smaller mistakes, but he overlooks the bigger ones. Because there is a hope in God that you will one day realize the true love. So your experiences are really bringing those beautiful thoughts and memories to me. I believe in a sports day, you had a very serious accident. Would you want to share that part?
Yes, in fact, I think you just passed by some of the photographs.
Yeah,
where,
I will show them.
me and brother Rajneesh holding. So, it was one of those. It was one of those days where we were practicing really hard for the music aspect of sports. We used to have a lot of music pre-recorded for sports later. So that the coordination wouldn't be better. So we were spending a lot of time in the night recording songs and bhajans for music. So I wanted to be a part of a sports activity that they were doing, but I was not having time for practice because I was stuck in the auditorium recording till late night. So a day before the actual sports, somewhere around 10 o'clock in the night, I was called saying, if you really want to do something tomorrow, you got to come and at least practice it once. Otherwise, you will have a problem. So I went, and we had to monkey crawl at 30 feet between two poles, and there was a rope tied to my stomach, and it was connected to the bike on the ground. The idea was, someone would just try and raise the accelerator to show that I'm pulling, though he's not really pulling, and I would cross it, and right below me there was a thick inch of sponge, and all of that was kept as a safeguard for me. I did that in the night, successful, and we all went off. And there was a bike, and there was someone to blow the whistle if something went wrong. Everything was put in place. So next day, Swami is on stage, the auditorium is packed, and it has to go clockwork. So my turn comes, I just rush, I climb the scaffolding, rope is on my back, and I start my process. Someone is there with the bike. Unfortunately, the bike that was used in the night, it was not the bike that they were using. Something had gone wrong. They changed a new bike, and instead of just raising the accelerator, the person happened to leave the clutch, and the bike moved forward. And at 30 feet, he just yanked me out. I tried my level best to hold on, but you can't hold the. Yanked me out, and I fell outside of the sponge on the ground from 30 feet.
Oh boy!
I landed on my back, and I think the body reacts to that shock. So I just got up. I said, I'm okay. Someone came and sprayed my back, and my event was over. So I went and sat in the Shanti Vedika stands, because at the end of the sports meet, everyone was supposed to come to the ground for a final finale or something like that. When the time came for the finale, I just couldn't move. I couldn't move my legs. And when you say black spots, I saw black spots in my eyes because of the pain when I tried to move. I told people I can't move. They didn't believe me. I said, no, I really can't move. My legs are not moving. So the funny thing here is, Swami moves to the mandir after sports meet, and all people who have performed get group photographs with Swami. The groups get. So all my colleagues were worried about the photograph that they had to get with Swami. They said, nothing doing, you come with us. They just literally lifted me, put in a car, drove to Prashanti Nilayam. With my broken back, I was like dragged into Prashanti Nilayam Mandir, and we were like waiting for Swami to come. So some of the photographs of that time, if you see, I'm catching Swami's hand, but I'm literally crying because of the pain and that I have in my back, because my legs are not moving. I was being dragged around. And then, I am taking to, after this photo session, I'm taken to the hospital. They do an X-ray. My bones are okay, but my muscles are completely squashed. I'm on a wheelchair for about 2 months. I'm the only person in the hostel who has a bed to sleep on because I can't sleep on the floor. And I come to Mandir on a wheelchair, and the wheelchair is brought right up to the portico, and that continued for like 2 months. I did physiotherapy for 2 months, and then finally I was able to walk. And this photo that you see was, I had to come on stage just after 2 days to receive some of the prizes, and I couldn't climb up the steps, so I was kept where the VIPs are kept in Purnachanda, right on the stage itself. I was given a lot of painkillers at that point in time, so that pain wouldn't be there, to walk that 15 meters, to take the prize and move off. But soon I became, I could not take painkillers. I became allergic to painkillers. So the warden went to Swami and said, Swami, this guy cannot move his legs and all of that, and he's become resistant to painkillers, so we can't give him anything to subside his pain. What should we do? Swami said, you don't worry. He gave him a bunch of vibhuti and he said, just ask him to take this. So for the next 20 days, vibhuti in a glass of water was all I had. And then I'm cured, finally. I could walk.
So you were paralyzed.
I was paralyzed. I could not move my legs.
So you are paralyzed down.
Down, yes.
So
then
legs were not working, and it remained for 2 weeks or 2 months.
For 2 months I was in a wheelchair, because then I went to super specialty. There were a group of physiotherapists who then told me what were the, because what they said literally was, your muscles are all squashed in the pelvic area. You have to do a lot of physiotherapy to reactivate those muscles. So I do those exercises even till this day, whenever I have a pain in my lower back. So that's the story.
Was there any direct contact or a conversation with Bhagwan in those times? No.
Yeah, well, it's a very funny story. So I was there on stage, waiting for to walk to that 15 meters and take a prize from Swami. And before all that started, Swami came on the stage, and he walked across to the VIPs. He was giving apples to the VIPs and all that. And in the midst of the VIPs, he sees me in the wheelchair there. It's like, kya hua? As if he was not aware. Like, acha, kya hua? Wheelchair mein kyun hai? I also pura compassion, full acting. Swami, Swami, I fell, my pura paralyzed ho gaya, thinking that I will get a lot of compassion and all that from him, He just looked at me and said, nothing doing. All you need is a wife. And he walked away. So he also knows how to put, water on fire. So I had nothing but, I had vibhuti and did physiotherapy for two months, and then I was fine.
There was a brother who got bitten by a snake, and everybody told Swami that Swami has got a snake bite. And Swami said, nahi, kuch nahi hua. And many years later, he said, many months, I think later, they are talking, he said, that word will not come out of my mouth. Because if I say that word, that, snake has bitten him, then the impact of the poison would be there. And he kept saying that he has got nothing. He's got stomach problem. And he converted the snake bite into a stomach problem and finished. So he had a little bit of operation also, but this poison did not move into the body. So Bhagwan's ways are unique. So by just squashing you or saying nothing happened, probably he must have bestowed on you a beautiful
True.
health, life.
Yeah, and you can
Fantastic.
imagine someone falls from 30 feet. I could have also landed on my head, by the way. Anything could have
Of
happened. I
course,
could have
anything.
broken my spine. I could anything can happen when you fall on the ground from 30 feet. And I was
Beautiful.
like, I just landed and I got up. Almost as if nothing had happened, when the first incident happened.
So
So,
you're doing gymnastics also? What is this?
yeah, I think, brother Ajnish and Rakesh, they were like in Vrindavan. I think they took upon themselves to learn karate and martial arts on their own, So
Aha.
they had this place behind the campus where they used to go regularly and practice. So when sports meet came, they said we will have an event which is more to do with karate, and I think we did a tai chi as a form of martial arts, the slow form of martial arts. I think it was that we all actually had a choreographed tai chi sort of an event. I'm sure it is that, and so Swami is giving us photographs after the sports meet event.
Okay. Let's show you some more pictures of your events with Bhagwan. This is in, I believe this should be in Whitefield or
Yes,
Koli.
this is in Trai.
Ray, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The inner
It's a
room
lovely
from
picture.
where Swami generally sits with students. There is a
Yeah.
large hall inside. In the hall, this is there.
So you are also in dramas.
So yes, I think being a part of the Bhajan group, these are some of the opportunities we get, and generally during the convocation period, in the Shanti Vedika or in the Purna Chandra, we stage dramas, and I was fortunate to be a part of two of the dramas. One was this one was particularly on Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the earlier one that you put on was about Tulsidas. So
Hmm.
here I'm the sage, to whom the young Chaitanya comes for initiation. And I think we did this at the Shanti Vedika, and we probably had the President of India at that point in time as our chief guest. And Swami was so proud, of us doing this event in front of the President of India.
This was one of the very good plays done by
Yes,
Vrindavan Camp. Very good play. Chaitanya
Rav,
Mahaprabhu.
yes, Ravi Kumar played the older Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the younger one was played by Brother Shantanu at that point in time. So
Hmm. Yeah, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right?
yes.
Hmm. That is Ravi Kumar here, and beautiful. The blessed steps of Trey.
Oh yes, and this is our my brothers from the MBA fraternity. Most of them came from the outside world. Very few of us moved from graduation to MBA, and many of them, were either engineers, had worked outside, and then wanted to be a part of Swami's institution, and they came to be a part. So it was an
Lovely.
amazing group. Music group again, all the opportunities that we got with Swami, being a part of the music group.
Yeah, that is your Raj Patel.
Yes.
This is
Nagraj.
Nagraj.
Yes.
A very good instrumentalist, musician, amazing player.
But Shyam,
Ajnish.
Shyam Sundar was a great, he used to play this mandolin.
Yes,
Shitiz used to play the
Shyam.
keyboard.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think you had a very talented batch. in terms of music and other things. Very dynamic batch. Wonderful. Okay, so let us take this thing from. So now we have seen your journey through the whole, as a student life. So after you finished MBA, what happened?
After I finished my MBA, I was in Patti for about 2 months, trying to make up my mind what I should do, and also await Swami's instructions and guidance as to what I should do. And a part of me wanted to stay and be in Patti, and a part of me probably wanted to move. I wasn't sure, undecided. I was there for about 2 months, and in those 2 months, Swami didn't really interact. He didn't say anything to me. Didn't give me any guidance. And then one of these days, I was in the Bhajan hall, and Swami walks in. He's talking to someone else, and he looks at me, and it's like, "Abhi tak kyun nahi gaya?" I said, "Swami, I want to serve you." And he says, "No, no, 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 no. You have no place here. You have to go. Don't stay here." Um, it's like, okay. And so I took it literally. I said, okay. Swami is very clear that I don't have a future here. I should not stay here. So I should go. So, fortunately, I met someone who offered me a job. And then I went back to Swami and I said, "Swami, I have found a job." He was like, "Really? You found a job? And where are you going?" And I said, "So and so date I have to go." And he was like, "Okay, I'll talk to you before that." Then he was also like, "Abhi tum ja rahe ho, I did so much for you. You're now going. So what all I did, was that not enough that you have to now look at moving out?" And it's very difficult for me at that point in time. Like 2 months, I was here waiting for your signal, wanting to be with you, and then after 2 months, you come and tell me, "No, you can't stay here. You go. You find a job. You cannot stay here. I don't want you here." I go. I look for a job. I come back and tell you. Now you say,
We
"I'm
wish we
going."
wish we could understand the divine dialogues, right? How he does, why he does. But
Yes.
many boys have to go, and then they wonder, well, what can he do? That
But
is the
Swami
beauty of
was
him.
so gracious to finally grant me a private audience, talk to me, so much so that in the middle of a bhajan, he's gone inside, got money, put it in an envelope, and given it to me, saying, "You will need this to travel to wherever you're going, because I'm sure you don't even have expenses, journey expenses." That level of concern and compassion from Swami. It was amazing, amazing.
See, whenever, this is a very beautiful thing which you have raised, like Swami is like a mother also, and not like a mother, he is. And, anytime you want to leave, that also he cannot take it. And when you want to stay, he says, no, you have to go because that is what your life is all about. So he can't. So it's a very typical motherly attitude which he shows. And as he rightly said, when you can't comprehend a mother of love of one mother, how can you comprehend my love, which is more than the love of thousand mothers? So it becomes a very big challenge for any one of us to understand and comprehend how to conduct and what to make out of his words, because every word has got such different flavors of life.
I agree,
But I
and
believe,
sorry,
yeah, sure.
I agree, because if I look at that point in time, we are young, and we are looking at Swami a lot more in a transaction manner, and we are not really giving deep thought or importance to the things that he's saying. I'm taking it at a very transaction level, right? Says, "You don't stay here, you go." I said, "Okay, I have to go." And he's saying, "Where are you going?" Okay. I'm not really going deep into what is it trying to communicate, Have I tried hard enough to understand him? Did I really communicate to him earnestly that I want to stay? I am not thinking along those lines, and I think that's where a lot of confusion comes to me, saying, why am I getting so much of mixed signals from Swami? And what should I be doing? There was a point in time wherein I thought, did I make a mistake by getting a job, getting this offer? Should I give it away and stay back? So, but it's a young mind and not able to comprehend how to
See, I
understand.
don't think there's anything right or wrong here, but it's a very beautiful thought, like how we evolve over the years. And when you come back to Bhagwan, he'll. So, what was the final sentence which he said to you before you left?
Oh
Where are you
yeah,
going?
but yes, I think some of the last discussions with Swami is, where are you going? And so actually he said, when are you going, I would say. But years later, when I'm able to look at my 5 years in his institution, I'm looking at that when as where, because my first day in his institution and my first interaction with him, he asks me a question, where have you come from? And at the end, after all that he has done for me, he's again asking me a question, where are you going? Both the times, uh, as innocently as possible. First question I answer by saying I'm from Darjeeling. Second question I am saying I'm going to Indore. But years later, when I put those two questions together, it's like Swami saying, 5 years you spent with me. Did you even think about these two questions? Or are you even thinking about it now?
So, if I have to ask you to summarize your, say, dictum of life, how would you say what you have learned from Bhagwan? The way you live, the way you conduct today, what are those?
I, you know, I always felt that there were some very simple thoughts that Swami always repeated. He always repeated that, he spoke a lot about scriptures and all that, but he would always bring it down into some essence. And some of the essence I carry is, he always spoke of unity of thought, word, and deed. And he said, what you think is what you need to say, and what you say is what you need to do. There cannot be dichotomy. You have to be one person, the one who, what you think, you say, and you do. You can't be three different people. You think something else, but you're saying something and you're doing something. Now that's not what I want of you, right? And the other is, think good. It's think good and speak good and do good and don't hurt people, right? You live your life the best you can. And I think these are the things. When I have joined corporate, I think you are in a cocoon when you are in Parthi and Vrindavan, in that atmosphere. You're actually in a cocoon. Swami is there, he's guiding you. Everything, you have an answer for everything in that place. You're so well protected. You go out into the wide world, it's a very different world. You don't, those goalposts aren't there and those people aren't there. It's a very different world. Expectation from you is very different from what is there in these environments. So I think it takes time for someone to adjust, saying, okay, now this is a different world, but now should I change myself? Or, okay, what are the goalposts that I still carry forward from my learnings in this 5 years or 7 years? And they need to help me, guide me now for the next years of my corporate life, whether personal or professional. So these few essences that I carry forward are the ones that really help me not deviate from the path.
Beautiful. See, when we get impacted by Bhagwan, and I'm sure everybody, our lifestyle changes. So whether we are in Parthi or we go home in holidays or after education, our lifestyle is impacted. We cannot live the way we lived before his exposure. And that is the transformation which really makes the distinctive statement of Bhagwan. That's the stamp of his, that you can no longer be same. You have touched me and I have changed, I have evolved, I have grown.
Yeah. Yes.
Life shall never be the same again. So I have a few pictures of yours that you went into holidays and you boys went for
Oh,
some service camp. Can you
yes.
quickly
I
share
think
that?
yes. This was during our almost the first year in Vrindavan, and we were in one of the rooms Swami wasn't there in Vrindavan, and we happened to be just talking amongst us. Those of us who came from the hills, we were having a discussion, and the thought came that, I think it started off with education is free in Swami's institution. We just pay a nominal fee for the hostel and food, but education is free. And we were like, it's not easy to, really support such a large institution where you're providing free and quality education. So there is so much Swami is doing for us. Is there something that we could do in return? I think the idea came from there, but we just did not know how to proceed with it. And so we started discussing, is there something we can do back home when we go home? One of our brothers happened to know someone from the government wing of Nehru Yuva Kendra. So this gentleman used to work with all the youths in the districts, and he was familiar with the topography of the district of Darjeeling. So we happened to meet him in Patti. So we said, we really don't know what we want to do, but we want to do some service, and we want to devote our time and even money. But give us a place where there isn't much of a political interference, where we can do what we want to do without much of a problem. So he identified this place. It's a place called Suruk. So it's supposedly one of the most remotest places in the district of Darjeeling. And so if you go back, the ropeway you see is you have to go to this place through a ropeway. And if you look at the ropeway is not closed, it's an open ropeway. And it crosses through two small rivers, and almost it crosses through pine trees. So must be 200-300 feet above. And you have to cross the two rivers, land on the other side of the jungle, and walk 2-3 hours in the jungle up to reach this place. This place does not have electricity. People are really, really poor, can't afford. And so that's the place where we stayed. So we went and met these villagers, and we said, we are 7-8 of us. We are here for a week. You can give us any work. We would be willing to contribute. So they said they had a small hut, a school, one-room school in which 4 classrooms were there. Imagine, in one room. They said our students don't have a place to play. They need a playground. So then one of the person who had these, he had cultivation lands, let's say. He gave like 2 or 3 terrains, and he said, you can make a ground out of this terrain. I'm donating this. So for 7 days, we actually sliced the terrain and created a ground of like 40 feet by 80 feet ground. We put up a wall on one side. It was actual manual labor. What you see is bringing out these big rocks, breaking them down. And in 7 days, we did that. It was a hot place, so we could not work beyond 11. So we would sleep or rest till about 2-3, and again go and work till about 6 o'clock. And then at 6 o'clock, we would gather all the villagers, and we would speak about Swami as to why have we come here, like who's inspired us to come. And we are not speakers in our mother tongue, so we would struggle to speak in Nepali because the people would only understand my mother tongue, and to get the right words and to explain the concept of Sai Baba to them itself was big. And then we would do bhajans also. We would finish off with bhajans, and a lot of elderly people would come and sit till late night and they would go back to their places and all of that. And the food was, and sometimes the food for the helpers wouldn't be there. Sometimes sugar wouldn't be there. Food wouldn't be there. It was, they were really struggling, and yet they made us so comfortable for 7 days. Completed that ground. And then for the next 2-3 years, we did these sort of things. We made a proper school for them. In another location, we made a mandir for them. So the beauty of all of this was, one day in Patti, we come across few of these villagers making all the way to Patti, saying, we heard about Sai Baba from you, but we wanted to come and see for ourselves what he is. And the person
You
who
brought them?
you, they came on their
They came there? Oh, beautiful.
They came on their
Oh
own
my
to
God.
say, we wanted to come and see him, the person who inspired you guys to come and, devote so much of time. That itself was
Wow.
a great fulfillment for all of us.
Yes. Oh, beautiful. So gratifying. So gratifying. So Yeshab, how do you look at 2011? I know it is a very mixed feeling for all of us. It's a sensitive issue, but just your views.
Yes, so I was not very regular to Puttaparthi after I graduated out. I was going back every 3 or 4 years. Uh, but you know, personally, every time I went, there was always an occasion for Swami to inquire of me. Strangely, the first time I went, it was our first alumni meet. We had a program inside the mandir. And Swami was so happy that alumni had come under one umbrella for the first time, and they were organized. And then he gave us gifts and all of that. And when my turn came to take the gift, he looked at me and said, "Indore, isn't it? You are in Indore." And I had to tell him, "No, Swami, now I'm in Delhi. I'm no longer in Indore. I'm in Delhi." The next time I went, we got an opportunity again during the annual event. We got an opportunity to be inside the mandir. After 2-3 days of the event, Swami said he will speak to the alumni, and he happened to pass by me and he said, "Shadi ho gaya kya?" And I'm like, "Yes, Swami." He says, "Children?" And I had a daughter then, so I said, "Swami, I have a daughter." So every time I went, there is always a question from Swami saying, "Kaisa hai tu? Are you fine? Is your life going fine? Is there any problem that you are having in life?" Almost every time I went. So much so
So
that
sweet.
when he came to came to Delhi, he was not in that frame of mind. I think physically he was not well. And when we got that opportunity to have Pad Namaskar, still he singled out, called me, and then he actually was speaking in Telugu because, he and there was a brother who was just beside Swami who was a Telugu, who could understand Telugu, and he was interpreting it for me, and he was like, "Where are you? Again, what are you doing? I mean, service. What sort of service are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm giving jobs." Saying, "Okay, you can take Pad Namaskar." Right up till that point. So, it's like, you can forget me, you can be far away from me, your frequencies to Pati may not be there, but I'm not going to forget you. And every time I come, I will recognize you and I will ask you about how you're doing, whether you are on the path, whether you've deviated from my path, whether you have a challenge in life, always there. So 2011, was a big watershed moment. I went to Parthi, um, and I remember sitting there feeling so bad about it. And when the whole, when the samadhi happened and all of that, I remember sitting in the stone bench at the end and thinking, I felt so empty then. In my mind, I was like, will I ever come back? I think, I was in that phase when Swami was so active, and when you had physical access to Swami, wherein you got used to talking to him, catching him, having him slap you, pat you, running after him, and all of that. And for me, it was like, will I ever come back? Because I can't bear this empty Parthi. That was my thought. However, I did go, but it was really. I know we got to internalize Swami, and he is in us, obviously.
Of course,
But
Parthi is
getting
our
used to
home.
that physical
Bhagwan has
aspect of
made it as
Swami,
home, so Parthi is always ours.
yes,
But you cannot replace that beautiful form. Somehow, when we talk about form, the whole philosophies go out of window
true.
because we can't help it. So, Yashav, I think it'll be apt to request you to sing few bhajans.
There is a song that I've always loved, but I never sang. I did not sing it in Parthi, and I've never sung it anywhere. But it's a song that really tugs at my heart because of the wordings of this song. So I'll probably
Go for it.
make an attempt to sing this song. Uh, मैली चादर ओढ़ ओढ़ के कैसे द्वार तुम्हारे आऊं, मैली चादर ओढ़ के कैसे द्वार तुम्हारी आऊं। हे पावन परमेश्वर मेरे, मन ही मन शर्माऊं, मैली चादर ओढ़ के कैसे तूने मुझको जग में भेजा, निर्मल दे कर काया, आकर के संसार में मैंने इसको दाग लगाया। जन्म जन्म की मैली चादर कैसे दाग छुड़ाऊं, मैली चादर ओढ़ के कैसे द्वार तुम्हारी आऊं। इन पैरों से चल कर तेरे मंदिर कभी न आया, जहां जहां हो पूजा तेरी कभी ना शीश झुकाया। हे हरिहर में हार के आया, अब क्या हार चढ़ाऊं, मैली चादर ओढ़ के कैसे द्वार तुम्हारे आऊं। हे पावन परमेश्वर मेरे, मन ही मन शर्माऊं, मैली चादर ओढ़ के कैसे।
Beautiful. I think we should close it with one more bhajan. So if you don't mind.
Sure.
Are you ready for the next song?
Yes, I'll just. This is it's a wonderful Mata Bhajan that we sing in Pati. I feel it's got an amazing bhav to it. I remember Sonam sir singing it many years back when I had just joined, and I will make an attempt. I know it's a song very dear to him as well. Jaya Ma, Jaya Ma, Daya Karo Sai Ma, Jaya Ma, Jaya Ma, Daya Karo Sai Ma, Mukti Pradayini, Prema Pradayini, Shanti Pradayini Ma, Janani Ma Janani, Jagat Janani साई माँ, दया करो साई माँ, जय माँ, कृपा करो साई माँ.
Brother Yeshab, you have helped us to transport us, I should say, to that era, that mood. I don't feel like, I wish you could maintain this, the sanctity of this bhajans and the era. What a gift God has given to us, that just by listening to His glory, just by listening to the bhajans, we get instantly connected and transported. Thank you very much for your really time and giving us this beautiful journey, sharing with us your adventures with Lord, your perspective on Bhagwan. Any final words, Yeshab?
Yes, I think thank you very much for this opportunity. It allowed me to relive wonderful moments we had with Swami, and also Swami's grace that I have got right through the years now, and I know I will get it in the future as well. And it was great going through those photos and really reliving those memories, some of which I had almost forgotten. So thank you very much. And always, I think, satsang, talking of Swami, always brings a lot of peace, happiness, and energy to all of us. So, Sairam.
Thank you very much. And my grateful pranams to Bhagwan for continue to shower his blessings on all of us and for giving us these opportunities to listen to his glories. And thank you all the viewers for joining us tonight. And this video will be available on the channel. You are welcome to watch it again, share it as you feel, and prayerfully by His grace, we'll meet again next week and continue this beautiful journey. Thank you, Brother Yeshab.